Growing up, I didn't have access to many JRPGs, so my gaming journey today includes a lot of backtracking to play the best of the best. With that said though, here are 10 JRPGs that everyone should play before they die. Tales of Arise may not be a popular pick, but this is one that I will stand on. The incredible graphics and the unique take on action-based combat are enough to hook any JRPG enthusiast or lure a newcomer into the genre. Now, this game was crafted with such care, it's hard not to fall in love throughout the journey as you grow closer to the cast, learn new combos, and become invested in the resolution of the story. I would best describe the gameplay as more of an anime-esque version of Final Fantasy VII Remake. The gameplay loop continues to get even better as you unlock new abilities and then grow your resources that it takes to use those abilities. Your combos start to become more flashier and take more skill to pull off. You'll find muscle memory kicking in as your fingers hover over the right buttons to exploit the enemy's weaknesses using your party members. If you have a particular party member you resonate more with, you'll be able to play with them solely, and the gameplay experience changes entirely from character to character. It's also a bonus that Tales of Arise is part of the much-loved Tales of franchise and is a modern gateway to get into the series. Tales of Arise was my first Tales of game, and it instantly made me add a few of the others into my backlog. All of this accompanied by a solid story makes Tales of Arise a game that everyone should give a try at least once in their lifetime. Xenoblade Chronicles is a JRPG that's easily stood the test of time and solidified itself in history as a must-play. The sci-fi fantasy type setting is such a different take from most JRPGs that it's hard not to fall in love with it and be amazed. Years before the story starts, two giants are locked into combat, but one day suddenly they froze. On their backs, colonies began to form, and this is the setting where the story takes place. When you look around, the first thing you'll notice is a beautifully crafted, open environment begging to be explored. And this is what so many fans love about this particular game, is there's so many unique, well-crafted environments that it's just like, wow, these are really that pretty and I get to just run all the way through them. And so that sense of exploration and discovery is a major draw, with many hidden areas and secrets to uncover, and like I said, these large semi-open world maps. So the game is beautiful, but there is, however, conflicts amongst the colonies that live in this beautiful environment. There is, however, conflict amongst these colonies, and the people of Bionis are at war with the Mechons, a mechanical race. During an attack on his colony, the main protagonist Shulk discovers his ability to wield a special blade and sets out on a quest for revenge. The history and the culture of Bionis and Mechonis contribute to the immersion in this well-developed world, and it just adds an extra layer of context, providing more meaning to your journey. The cast of the game is diverse and each have their own backstories, motivation, and also will grow throughout the game, so you'll see the personalities begin to evolve as they experience more. Xenoblade Chronicles is categorized as an action JRPG, but the combat is more akin to playing an MMORPG offline. You'll have auto attacks when you're close enough to an enemy, but can weave in abilities on cooldown as they're available. Each party member is going to be playable with their own unique set of skills, so if you ever get bored with the combat, you can just switch it up and play as a new party member. In case you already played the original version, or maybe you saw the way it looked and you decided I don't want to give it a test, Xenoblade Chronicles was actually remastered with Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition, and this is the port to the Switch with improved graphics and a new storyline for those of you that has already played the original version that's set 1 year after the events of the main story. Tales of Abyss is the second Tales of game on this list, and what some consider the best game in the franchise. Tales of the Abyss is the perfect option for someone looking to revisit that nostalgic experience that came with the PS2 era of JRPGs. A big high point in why fans love Tales of the Abyss is its world building, so I'm gonna spend majority of this time describing what the story is without actually spoiling too much of the plot. The story focuses on Luke, a young pampered swordsman who's the nephew of the king. 7 years prior to the story, Luke was kidnapped by a rival country, but when he's rescued, he begins to suffer from amnesia. Since Luke's rescue 7 years ago, he's been confined in his house where only a select few people are able to see him, one being his master who provides his training. Sounds like a pretty cozy life to me, but Luke's coddled life gets turned upside down when he becomes the target of a military religious organization. One day when he's training with his master is attacked, and in Luke's attempt to defend him, he's advertently teleported with the assassin who came to kill his master to a land far away. Now you have to remember, Luke's been confined for the past 7 years and coddled, so this is a rude awakening when he finds for the first time out of his confinement since he's had his amnesia, things are so different in the world where you're not pampered. And so, like I said, this is a completely contrast to what he previously experienced. Together with his companions he meets along the way, Luke attempts to discover the truths and the significance of his own birth, as well as unravel a mysterious prophecy that has bound humanity's actions for thousands of years. Combat adapts the Tales of series' signature linear motion system, where your party of 4 fight a group of enemies with real-time action combat and sort of a linear type structure. Characters can use abilities called arts that take your TP resource, and there's also your signature ability that's going to be your over limit. But with Tales of the Abyss and Tales of Arise, that gives you 2 options to get started with the Tales of franchise, one that's a more modern experience, and Tales of the Abyss, which is going to throw you back to that PS2 era, so pick whichever one fits your preference of gaming. I just wanted to take a quick break to say thank you guys so much for helping me get to 20,000 subscribers. I really appreciate it. We have a few sponsorships on the channel already, and some that are going to be posted throughout the next few weeks, so please support those. They're helping out the channel a ton. We're going to have giveaways, we're going to have bigger videos, longer projects, and I promise it's going to be worth it. So thank you guys for supporting me through everything. If this is your first video, make sure that you subscribe to the channel and help me get this video to 100 likes. But let's get back into discussion the top JRPGs. Dragon Quest XI. Oh man, this is like a love letter to JRPG enthusiasts, crafted on the finest paper with the finest ink. Dragon Quest XI is a JRPG in its purest form, with so much love and care put into making sure that every single detail is executed to perfection. The main story quest is about 60 hours, but each second feels meaningful and contains the same effort that you saw in minute 1 of your journey. They don't just pamper you and show you this amazing world at the beginning and it fall off later. It's consistent throughout the entire journey. You'll visit several towns, each taking inspiration from different cultures, which is also reflected in the voice acting. Majority of the dialogue is voice acted, and none of it comes off as cringe, even when we get into the wacky characters with unique speech cadences. The aesthetic of the game is beautiful, with vibrant color palettes that give it this like homey and cozy type of feeling. It's hard to describe this, but even non-boss enemies' designs just scream "come attack me," because you want to see more to the animation. You want to see how well crafted this random trash mob in the environment is, and so you just go attack it and see how it maneuvers in battle. And it just screams, we put effort into every inch of this game. Combat can be crafted to fit whatever mood you're in to experience the game with. If you're looking for a chill, low effort gaming session, you can put it on auto battle with no add-ons. But if you're looking for something more challenging, you can add draconic quests, which make the game harder. The class system offers a way for each character to be played with different weapons, and respecking is so easy, and this allows you many opportunities to experiment with different builds and playstyles. It's hard for me to find a bad thing to say about Dragon Quest XI, and now if I'm just nitpicking, digging deep into the crates to say something, just have some negativity in this, the only thing that I can say is that everyone's starting outfits, oh my god man, it just makes them look like homeless NPCs with no drip. But they make up for this though with free unlockable costumes that you can get throughout the game. If you haven't tried Dragon Quest XI before you die, you're missing out on an amazing adventure, and I really recommend you put this game at the top of your priority list. Final Fantasy X is such a breath of fresh air when it comes to breaking out of the mold of traditional JRPG stories. Yes, you're gonna be saving the world, but with Final Fantasy X, it does it in such a unique way with its somber tone that the journey feels different. It feels like even if you save the world, you still lose in the end. The story follows Tidus and Yuna on their journey to save the world of Spira from the destructive cycle of Sin, a giant whale-like creature. I've been very vocal on this channel that I put a lot of emphasis into surface level things like modern graphics and voice acting just to keep me playing. I know this is narrow-minded and slowly I'm working to overcome it, but I bring this up to say that with Final Fantasy X, that wasn't a problem at all. You become so invested in the story and immersed within the gameplay that none of that other surface level stuff matters. Each party member is so well written and plays their role in the story perfectly. Final Fantasy X also hits the difficulty right on the money, where I feel like I'm being challenged in both puzzles and combat, but not to the point where I want to put the game down and quit. There are also optional bosses and mini games, some of which are going to be more challenging than the main story content. So if you want that extra challenge to push yourself even further, this is going to be the way to go, because these things will do that as they require more strategy and preparation. The Spear Grid is also such an innovative way to offer a large variety of ways that you can build each character, and so doing what was optimal a lot of times felt subjective to however you prefer to build your party, and not this is the best way to play and every other way is obsolete. If you've enjoyed any other game in the Final Fantasy series, Final Fantasy X definitely needs to be added to your backlog. I know that the franchise has picked up a lot of fans with the newer entries in Final Fantasy VII Remake. Unlike Dragon Quest XI, which we mentioned earlier, Dragon Quest V takes us back to the older gameplay style associated with earlier games in the franchise. I feel like everyone should experience at least one Dragon Quest game in their lifetime, but with this franchise, you have options. Dragon Quest XI gives a more modern experience, while Dragon Quest V gives an old school version of that same experience. And on top of that, with the upcoming Dragon Quest 1 through 3 remakes, you'll soon have the option to get that same nostalgic experience that Dragon Quest V offers, but with that new modern blend of 2D graphics in the light of something like Octopath Travelers. Like I said earlier, that gives you several options to choose from based on your preferences, but I really do recommend you try at least one. Dragon Quest V unfolds across 3 distinct arcs, each marking pivotal stages in the protagonist's life: his childhood, his adolescence, and adulthood. I won't speak to all the arcs because I don't want to spoil the later stages of the game, so for here we're just going to focus on the first arc, his childhood. The game begins with the protagonist traveling with his father, who is on a quest to find the legendary hero who can wield the Zenithian sword. During their travels, you'll meet many people and encounter various adventures, forming the foundation of your future journey. One thing that Dragon Quest V does that sets it apart from other Dragon Quest games is that you're able to recruit monsters to your party, similar to Shin Megami Tensei. You'll have other human party members, but the monsters give you options that can sometimes be on par if not better than your human allies. They're also available to you should you ever be separated with your party story-wise. Like other games on this list, many consider Xenogears the best JRPG of all time. Whether that be due to nostalgia or playing it in their childhood, it's up for interpretation, but the biggest selling points for many of those fans is its complex original story and the cinematography. At the time of its release, Xenogears was revolutionary and left many fans in just a wow state with its production value and thought-provoking themes. Xenogears is set in a world where ancient powerful mechs known as gears are a significant part of the culture and the warfare. The story follows Faye, who suffers from amnesia after his village is attacked by giant robots called gears. Faye accidentally activates one of those gears to defend his village, but instead causes significant damage. Faye decides to leave the village in guilt and confusion to uncover the truths about his past. The story dives into several themes such as identity, free will, and the nature of existence as they explore Faye's mysterious past and his connection to the powerful relics scattered throughout the land. Along the way, you'll engage in several turn-based battles where combat includes both on foot and in gears. Combat on foot is a variant of the ATB battles that are found in games like Chrono Trigger or Final Fantasy VII, but in addition to that hand-to-hand combat, occasionally characters will fight in the giant robots called gears. In gears combat, you'll use fuel, and depending on the attack that you use, will deplete your consumption. Xenogears, simply put, is a PlayStation 1 classic that every JRPG fan should revisit at least once before they die. Final Fantasy VII is one of the first games that came to mind when I began scripting this video. The two versions of the game complement each other so well when it comes to making a recommendation to someone new, as they're both legendary to their respective eras. Final Fantasy VII Remake offers a modern take to it for those that put heavy emphasis on graphics and voice acting, but the classic version offers that traditional JRPG experience for those who prefer to have that PlayStation 1 era of games. The classic version is turn-based, while the remake is more action-based, but both of these tell that same incredible story that features one of the most iconic casts in JRPG history. Similar to Tales of Arise, Final Fantasy VII Remake lets you control every party member based on your playstyle preference. Each party member comes with their own unique gameplay mechanics and skills, so combat never gets stale. I feel like Final Fantasy VII is a given for this list that you've probably already heard a ton about, so I won't harp too much on it, but if you haven't already played Final Fantasy VII or 7 Remake, this needs to be at the top of your list with Dragon Quest XI. Persona 5 is one of many masterpieces on this list that everyone should play. Persona 5 takes you on a 100+ hour adventure that makes you feel like an essential member of the protagonist's group, the Phantom Thieves. The OSTs and its aesthetically pleasing music make the 100+ hour journey even more enjoyable because everything is like that perfect combination to set the mood. The social simulation side of things allows you to experience day-to-day life as a high school student in Japan. If you decide that you want to spend more time with the character, you can do that either from a platonic standpoint or a romantic side, but regardless, you'll get to explore their backstory and figure out what makes them tick as a person. All of these relationships built during the social simulation side of things also were geniusly incorporated into the gameplay side of things, giving you perks on the dungeon crawling side. You'll traverse through several dungeons to change the hearts of humans with malicious intent, which are created in what they call palaces in the metaverse. Persona 5 is another game like Final Fantasy VII that I feel like has been talked about in so much abundance, so I feel like it's a must to include it on this list, but I want to spend more time highlighting the other less talked about games. Chrono Trigger is a short but sweet 2D classic JRPG crafted to perfection. Playtime is about 20 hours, but it's straight to the point with no fluff. Chrono Trigger features 12 different endings, which provides a ton of replayability to explore the multiple outcomes. Now, the way that Chrono Trigger begins is with the young Chrono attending the Millennial Fair. There he meets a girl named Marley, and together they witness a demonstration of a teleportation device created by Chrono's friend Luca. When Marley volunteers to test the device, a mysterious reaction causes her to vanish, but leaves behind a pendant. Chrono and Luca discover that that pendant triggers a time portal that sent Marley back 400 years. To rescue her, Chrono goes through portals and the trio embark on a time-traveling adventure that spans across several eras, including prehistoric times, the Middle Ages, and most importantly, a post-apocalyptic future and the end of time. To prevent this disaster that they see, they continue to travel throughout history to discover ways to save their planet. This is a lot of death talk, so hopefully you have plenty of life to enjoy all 10 of these amazing JRPGs. But if you're looking for more recommendations, check out this video here where I explain every JRPG franchise in 15 minutes. Thank you for your time, and I'll catch you in the next one.